Welcome to Hardware and Storage Devices. In this chapter, we're going to look at the many mechanical and electrical devices that have been assembled to help create a computing environment. And this includes many pieces of hardware that you're already familiar with. There's lots of pictures in the chapter to help you understand and grasp what these things are. And you probably know a lot of them already. You certainly know what a tower case is. You also know what a monitor is. And you also know what external devices probably look like, including the printer, the external hardware devices, the little thumb drives, and other kinds of peripheral devices that are handy and easy to use and easy to carry and use at different uh, places of work and coffee shops and things like that. So we have a lot of interactivity and ability today with our hardware devices. The thing I want you to grasp, though, is that these are continuing to evolve. And while I have a lot of pictures, I certainly don't have the pictures of everything that's out there in the marketplace and are very, very current. And so you want to keep abreast of those things because you can find that there are many new devices coming out all the time that are going to make computing expand and your ability to use computing to expand with it. So you can subscribe to some computing magazines, and they'll certainly keep you abreast of what's ahead. Now, the many devices that are out there are generally grouped in a in a way that you already understand that type of grouping. For example, I've already mentioned the tower case or the computer case. There's also things like power supplies and case fans because keeping your computer cool is a very important thing. I don't know if some of you are involved in gaming. If you have gaming computers, you'll find that a lot of those have coolant systems in them because gaming requires a lot of processing in order to make all of the movements, all of the quick changes to the environment, the running, the jumping, and the swinging of the sword, and the use of laser devices and magic and things like that. You've got to have a lot of processing power to accomplish many activities and actions in a game. So there's the motherboard too, and I want to particularly show you something about a motherboard. I have one right here in front of me, and hopefully you can see it pretty well. I'm trying to adjust it for the camera here so that you can get a pretty good look at it. I'm dragging it slowly across the screen. This is a laptop motherboard, and you'll see this area right here. I'm trying to get my finger to. Let me see if I can do this right. All right, this area right here is where the processor goes. You'll you'll notice it has lots of little holes in it, and that's where the processor fits down on top of it. There's slots for different types of things like sound cards and other types of processing, like for example with graphics, and then your memory slots are down near the bottom here, as you can see. So the motherboard is a crucial piece of technology. It's also called the system board. What you might want to try to do is to get a hold of one of these and try and find the exact copy that you have in your hand on the internet. And then see if you can label the parts on the motherboard, and you can get familiar with this technology a little bit so that you have an idea of what's inside the machine. You don't have to be a technician. You don't have to understand everything you're looking at. You might even work with a technician in a shop and ask him to help you to understand some of the components that are actually on the motherboard itself. That might be a good exercise for you, and gives you some insight into what's happening. Be sure and get a little familiar with the CPU, what a CPU looks like. This is a central processing unit, and you've probably heard of the marketing slogan Intel inside. I don't know if you can actually see that it does say Intel inside. I'm trying to get used to using the camera here, and it does say Intel at the top, and it gives a description of what processor this actually is. It has teeth, and I'm trying to turn it over. You can see the teeth here. All the teeth go down into those little holes in the processor slot where I showed you and pointed to on the motherboard when I was talking earlier. So again, I'm not trying to turn you into a technician, but you might want to spend some time with a motherboard with some CPU examples. You'll also want to maybe find out what a video graphics card looks like, what memory sticks look like, what the sound cards can look like, what your different types of monitors are in the stores, and all of your keyboards and mouses that are available. A lot of your keyboards and mouses today are wireless. So that means you can sit on the couch and work with your computer at a distance from your laptop or PC. So we have wireless mouses and wireless devices in to help us to accommodate the machinery in a way in which it can be effective for us in our lifestyle and the way that we choose to live and work. Well, you might want to go to a computer store and just simply go around and look at the many, many different kinds of hardware devices available. There's all kinds of printers too. There's laser printers, there's inkjet printers, and there's new ink driven technology that's out there to reduce the amount of ink consumption that we have. Of course, ink can be very expensive, so can toner. And to have a printer that will give you, 5,000 pages a month means a lot, as to opposed to a printer that gives you only a couple of thousand pages a month. Then you're spending a lot of money on toner or ink or something to replace the kinds of fluids that you're using to make printing copies. And I know that can be a real pain in an organization because of the cost, not just the paper, but the ink itself or the toner. Then we've got other types of items which are optional, but are similar to hardware devices for computers, and that's scanners, fax machines, USB hub devices, and USB connectivity devices. A lot of your external hard drives will connect by USB now, and routers and speakers and switches and those types of devices. I happen to have a external hardware device right here that attaches to my computer. Again, I'm trying to drag it across the screen so you can see it. And of course you can see it's a USB connection. This is called Maxtor Black Armor, and when it turns off, it automatically encrypts everything on the hard drive, the external hard drive. And this one is kind of small. It's 120 gigabytes. So that's not very large now, because you can get external hard drives that are 1 terabyte in capacity. perhaps even 2 or 3 terabytes in capacity now for a relatively low amount of cost. Well, there you go. You've got hardware devices that are out there for you to choose. Even the camera, the webcam, they're called different by different names. The webcam that I'm using by Logitech is an external hardware device. And we didn't even think that one day we would have this kind of capacity to record lectures or to record any kind of small movie or type of video of the family or some event or something, newsworthy around the world that we can put on YouTube in just a matter of minutes. So these are just example after example of hardware devices that are external to the machine. Storage devices include not only the external hard drives, but other types of devices that you can connect to your computer and multiply its capacity. What we're talking about here in particular are storage area networks, SANs, SANS. These are used in data center technologies, and something that we'll talk about later on in the course. In data centers, you have to have a lot of storage capacity because you are involved with lots of transactions and lots of information with accounts, like people's accounts, client accounts, transactions that are taking place maybe in department stores, at the cash register, which are now not cash registers anymore. They're computer scanner devices now. And we have lots of technology that integrate the use of a computer, but the way in which it is hardware made into a mechanical or electrical device is similar to an older device, but it really has been completely modified and changed. So the cash register that you see today in today's department stores are really small computers with processing data points all around it, which include credit card swiping and the use of cash, also writing checks, and you can swipe the check and get it scanned too. So you have all sorts of integrated devices around the modern cash register, which again is a modified computer with external hardware devices that facilitate all of the needs of handling transactions in a store, a retail store. The credit cards, the checks, the cash, etc. And even those loyalty cards that have points on them or have bonus cash on them, so that again we can scan it by barcode or we can scan it by some other type of insignia on the piece of paper, so that the computer, which is the cash register, can read it and it actually does know what to do with the transaction. So we really have intelligent hardware devices out in our computing environment today. So just go to a computer store, maybe find a tech or someone to work with for a few minutes, and allow him or her to share with you what is current and what is happening with hardware, help you to understand how hardware works, both internally and externally with a computer, and you'll be right on the mark with this subject. Maybe also get a motherboard and see if you can label it. You can go on the internet and see thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them, and all of them can be very easily identified. Some of them have pictures with identifying marks on them, and you will know in a matter of just a few minutes of study what you're looking at and what you're dealing with. Just about anything can be looked up on Google. Any part, any component, any piece of it, you can find out what it is and get the specifications for it. But again, I don't want you to feel like you have to become a technician. It's just to get you in a frame of mind to where you understand what you're looking at and what you're dealing with when it comes to hardware and storage devices. Thanks again for your attention, and talk to you soon.